All right. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to this RightPick product walkthrough for version 4.2. Happy New Year to everyone as well. We're just starting the year with a new version of RightPick. And oh, is anyone having audio issues? Let us know in the chat if you can hear me all right. There's still a lot of people joining in. Okay, I see people saying, can you hear me? So that's good. That's good. Thank you for that. All right, perfect. We have a lot of people joining in today. That's always good to see. And yeah, hi everyone again. A lot of people joining in already. As I was saying, we're going to start with the RightPack product walkthrough for version 4.2. I'm going to do these very similar to what I did the last time, in the sense that I'm going to start by focusing on um, the new features during the demonstration, but also I will flow into a hybrid presentation in the sense that I will showcase what we already have together with what's new for this particular version. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to get started over here on RightPack. Today, we're going to have a special section at the end provided by Andre. He's going to show us a little bit of a surprise that we're going to have for an upcoming success story that will be releasing soon on our website. Andre is going to give you in here the first hand of that publication. We're going to also have a space for Q&A at the end. We'll be looking at your questions in the chat or opening up your microphones at the end. And our colleague Anna is just giving you that information in the chat as well. So many of us, or many of you rather, already know what RightPack is for, but for those that don't know yet, and I think there's quite a few people already that we're seeing the names for the first time. RightPack is essentially allowing us to expand our Tableau use cases, our Tableau usage, because we all love Tableau in this context. Typically, that's what we find. That and Tableau is very great at letting us understand our data, see how our trends are going, how our departments are performing, our clients are engaging. So there's a lot of things that we can see through Tableau with the right data. However, if we do find that we need to take some actions through in any of those processes, Tableau is unfortunately lacking in that case. And that's where RightPack comes into play. Because usually you don't really have very good alternatives due to you have to use separate tools, Excel files, for example, that are much harder to manage than a dashboard or a database, and there's no real focus when doing those type of processes. So that's exactly what RightPack does. Okay, and it lets us write directly within the dashboards to your database. So you always stay in the flow, so it's very easy to set up the then the dashboard with RightPack in it. Just build your dashboard as you typically do, with the addition of essentially having that extension container there next to your worksheets, where you will be adding your inputs. It's also, of course, an enterprise-grade product. We'll see at the end already the large portfolio of customers that we already have. That always the great majority tends to be very large companies that benefit a lot from having these type of workflows to save time, to save money. A lot of good comes from it when using it in the right places. And it's easy to maintain as well because all the package is easily managed through a web interface. that lets you configure every aspect of Writepick. So regarding 4.2, the new features that we bring you are mainly coming from user feedback. So we're hearing you. We try to make it as good as possible for your requirements, and that's exactly where the first topic comes into play. So it's now possible to control more granularly who has access to what in that particular data set. So before on Writepick, we were already able to do some of these where you could define a user as a creator or as a viewer, but now we can go further than that. So despite the user role, we can have individual controls over their permissions. We're calling it capabilities. Essentially similar to how you would grant permissions on a Tableau dashboard, for example. It could be editing permissions, writing permissions, reading permissions, and the like. So that's exactly what's going to come into play in here. And we're going to showcase these during the demonstration today as well. Additionally, and this is a very requested feature as well, which is SAML on Tableau Desktop. Before, Writepick already supported SAML, but unfortunately, it was only available on the browser. Due to the way Tableau Desktop works with extensions, we were having some difficulty to include it in. Now it's present, and of course, available and ready to use after version 4.2. It does require some, if you're already using SAML, you will have to reconfigure SAML, and we have a page on our documentation for this specific case. But essentially, it's a new way to reconfigure Writepick regarding SAML, because it helps in scenarios where you have multiple environments, and it's a more streamlined and easier way to configure that I'm going to show as well today. And with this, of course, because we now have better permission control, it made sense to also improve the way you have visibility over your license seats, because this way you can actually more easily remove users or block certain users from using Writepick in a particular scenario. Okay, so now let's get into the action and actually see how all of these works. So I'm just going to bring this in. I have my dashboard over here for the demo. And okay, so let's start with one of the most common use cases. Just logging in here to my database, and we're going to go for updating existing data. So in this use case, what we have in here is basically a list of products where we can see their prices, their quantity, their profit, sales, and their quantity, not the prices. And it's a monthly report where we go over the month, we see all the products sold in that month, and we can make adjustments, see if the values are correct, and so on. So in here, I'm going to log in with a user that I have created for this purpose. Okay, and once Alice logs in, she's now able to create their entries. Okay, so let's say we have a value in here that's very strange in this particular case. So we're going to make a change there. I want to update this to 10. That's what actually comes in the financial report. And when checking up, for example, with auditors, we can see that this doesn't actually correspond with the reality. So we can come in here and essentially clean our data or make sure that the data is correct. And we're going to do the adjustments according to the auditing company. We're going to say that new values from the auditing company. Okay. Then we are now able to submit the information with Writepick. And right away, we're going to see that reflecting in the dashboard right there. And I can see my new value. or rather my new values that I entered in here. I could potentially, I didn't do this in this particular case because it's just a quick example, but basically I could input the or display the comment on the tooltip as well, just to go over and have a quick explanation on why the value is like this. But what I'm doing in here is essentially showing this check mark to display that a value was inserted the right back in here. Okay. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, I'm using Tableau Desktop in this particular case, just because it's easier to show around the worksheets, data sources, and all of that. And also to showcase the SAML login now. But basically, it would work the same on Tableau Server or Tableau Cloud. It's just a quick disclaimer there. But yeah, so as you can see, so that's simple to do an input of data within WriteBack to correct your data or to update some values. However, what if we don't really need to update values? We just want to comment on the data or flag the data or do some certain adjustments. Some certain appointments or notes. We can do that as well. So we have there's many ways to configure WriteBack in this manner. One of them, if it's really just an analysis-based use case, we can configure WriteBack with a rich text editor, for example, that gives us the possibility to write in text on a well-formatted manner, and it will be displayed exactly like we're seeing over here. So if I were to, I don't know, copy and paste from some meeting agenda or wherever it is, or taking notes throughout the meeting, I can place it in here with bullet points, customize the colors, the text, whatever. And then WriteBack will store it exactly in this way. And then through WriteBack, I can also show this contextual information on that particular quarter or year or wherever timeline or time frame we are working on. So it's a really nice way to configure WriteBack as well. This is essentially called the WriteBack viewer. When we first set up WriteBack for the first time, and I can quickly show it this, by the way. When we set it up for the first time, it's really quite easy to just opening the configuration screen. Just gonna go in here. And when we are in here, we have the configuration type. And by the way, this is now the new button for the permissions, but in the configuration type, we can choose the viewer, and then we set it up with wherever dataset contains our rich text options, which in this case would be this one, and I'll just fill out the field, the worksheet I'm looking at, and so on. So this way, we get a really nice representation of our comments right away. Alternatively, if I need a more granular control of the comments, if I don't want to do an overall analysis and just want to focus on a more line-by-line basis, I can just quickly configure WriteBack just like before. And I'll show you that the configuration is very straightforward for this one as well. So when I brought it in, I chose the worksheet that contains my shipments. And then ideally, you'd want to have one uniquely identifier data point at least. So that's the order ID. That could be just my only one key field if I wanted to. But then I also have the other fields just for reference. Then I define the name of the table that I want to create. So WriteBack will create this on a separate table to store your comments, just to make sure that your data is never affected, and you always have access to that table as well, because that's going to be in your infrastructure, which is important to note, because as of now, WriteBack is an on-prem product, so it will connect to your database. You will have complete control over it, and you can be sure that your data will be your data integrity will be kept. And then you just start defining whatever fields you want for the form. In this particular case, I only have a comment and priority. So we see comment there as a text field. Okay, so there's the text. And then over here, we have the priority, which is a predefined field that we set the urgent, mid, and low or not applicable options inside. And we could keep adding more fields like the rich text that we are using here, numbers, dates as well. So there's a lot of options there. Once we do configure it, we're ready to use it and start. For example, over here, I see some of these were shipped late. I could go individually, one by one, and provide an individual comment. So I'll just do an individual comment over here, just for example. And we're going to see that it's just going to update that one. However, in this particular case, because I actually wanted to update all of them at once, since they're all shipped late, I can just do a drag and select on Tableau. We can see that Writeback is now reading 3 of the available marks. That's exactly the 3 orders that we see in there. And I can say that we need to look into this, for example, because they were shipped late, even though they were first class, and this is something that we need to look into because we want first class to be shipped on time. So that's, in this case, 1 day. I'm going to set an urgent priority to look into this case so we can figure out what's happening as soon as possible so it doesn't happen again, for example. You could have these data being pushed into other processes where you have an overall dashboard where you can control your comments and everything. So it's a really nice way to either flag things or provide additional context on that particular use case. So the next person that comes in already knows if this is being worked on, why it is like that. If there's a period where there's a lot of commercial activity, like, I don't know, Christmas or Black Friday, for example, and you have a lot of orders that are getting delayed, it's easy to justify. But if it's in the middle of summer that you're getting a lot of orders delayed, don't really know why, for example, that's a good way to analyze and tackle those patterns. Now, when to bring in here the new permissions functionality, I already set it up as well for this case. So when you configure Writeback, you create a table, right? So once you have the table created, it's now possible to define permissions for it. I mean, not necessarily for the table. The table just sits in your database. You have still complete control over that. In here is really just focused on the Writeback usage. So this means logging into Writeback and using it as a user, whoever is using it through Tableau, and restricting or enabling them to do additional stuff. So, for example, over here, as the user that I'm currently logged in, because I'm an administrator, or in this case, a Writeback creator, I can control the way other people access Writeback. Okay, so in the current scenario, all of my users, or the not necessarily all of my users, but the users that I specified in here, are now being controlled through the permissions in terms of the way they can see or interact with the data in these particular data sets. So very similar to Tableau, as you can see, we have the icons that indicate what that permission enables or disables. It will let you do that individually. So if I didn't want my users to delete data, I could just quickly come in here and deny them that ability. Okay, so right now, this is off by default. Okay, so your existing configurations will keep working as they are. But as soon as you need to provide additional control, you're going to be able to come in here, add a new user, and they will now show up over here on the table. And then you can customize that user permissions in particular. If you want to do these the other way around. You can, for example, make a user a viewer, and the viewer simply has the basic permissions, and you could then either grant them additional permissions or remove them permissions. If you would just want the viewer to create data, so you'd basically do something like this. Of course, they'd be able to see, to add but not modify or delete data, for example. So that's how it would look like if you just want someone to see and add data, but not do anything else further. So I'm going to remove this user for now and just log Bob over here from deleting data, for example. I'm going to submit this change. And I have another dashboard over here where I'm going to log in with Bob, just so we can see that he won't be able to delete the comments that were inserted by Alice. So just logging into my database again. Allow my write back. And there we see the comments that were just performed by Alice. So with Bob, I'm going to come in here, log and then I can see the data on writeback, okay, because I still have that permission. But over here, I'm going to try to delete, and I don't have permission to delete the data. And this is what you're going to see if you don't have permissions to submit data or to view data. You're going to see the appropriate message on the form. I won't go through all of them, of course. That would take much more time to showcase everything. But essentially, that's the experience that the user will see, and they will quickly understand that they don't have permission because someone already blocked that for them. And then over here, I can still use writeback as normal if I want to provide a comment, comment from Bob. We're gonna still be able to do it, okay? Except I won't be able to delete it because I'm not allowed to delete. And that's a good thing. In this particular case, we just want to have people inserting data. We don't want them to be removing the comments or modifying anything. We just want to see exactly what they think in that particular case. On another note, going back to the other functionalities that already exist in writeback for the new users, before I go on to showcase how to set up the new SAML configuration, we're also going to see the data grid, which goes back into the first use case that I showed. So just to come up full circle in this, instead of configure writeback as a form, we can also configure writeback as a data grid. So the data grid view allows you to have a nice structured way to display the data. Everything else still applies in terms of how you set up writeback. Like the configuration is pretty much the same from start to finish. The only difference is really that we enable the data grid option when setting it up for the first time. So if we go down here, we're going to have the data grid view toggle switched on, and that enables us this view. In this view, we have some additional functionality separate from the form, or I rather say distinct functionality. Because on the form, as you saw on the commenting use case, when I select multiple entries, I'm going to update them all at the same time with the same value. That would be the same in this updating existing data scenario. If I select multiple ones, they would all get the same quantity, profit, and sales. However, in this particular scenario, it doesn't actually make sense for me to do that kind of update, because very rarely I would want to get the same quantity, profit, and sales for completely different products. So that's where, or one of the reasons why data grid comes into play, exactly because it allows us to select multiple entries like this, and then bring it into writeback to the data grid view, and then individually provide multiple values. And this is very useful, for example, for filtering scenarios where you're narrowing down or drilling down a list of categories, business areas, countries, and you reach to a point where you want to update just that particular section. Then you bring all of those values in the right backend, you can quickly update them all at the same time, but with different values. And you can also copy and paste from Excel. If you have the calculations in Excel, you just want to get the final values into here, for example. And you can quickly update the information just like you do on the form, except on a line-by-line basis. The end result on the table looks pretty much the same, but in here, yeah, that's how it's going to work. One other key functionality that we brought that's new from 4.1, but I think it's worth mentioning as well for the new people, which is the bulk upload. It's possible to download a template of the data, and that's basically an Excel file that you get with headers corresponding to your Tableau fields as well as the write-back fields, and then you can just fill it out and upload through here on write-back that way. That demonstration is also available in the previous webinar. If you want to take a look into it in more detail, I cover that over there, and that's available on the other write-back forms as well. Lastly, I'm just going to quickly go over here to my write-back manager. Just a second here. Okay, let me just quickly. Whoop. Gonna stop sharing the screen for a moment so I can see the window. Okay, and I'm gonna put it back up. So I'm right now logging into the write-back manager. And for those of you seeing this for the first time, this is what I was mentioning right at the beginning with how easy it is to control and set up write-back. This is the web interface to set up stuff like the database connection, server configuration, authentication systems, and everything. And I'm gonna really go through a quick process just to show you the authentication part, in particular to setting up SAML. So SAML is now available on Tableau Desktop for write-back. So we're gonna quickly go on how to set it up. And that's exactly how we would typically do a SAML configuration. You enable it over here in the authentication page, and you check that it's now enabled. Then you go to your sites because you have to configure it for each site. We simplified this a little bit. So instead of getting a file and uploading, we found that this was a little bit confusing, having to download and upload a file somewhere else. Now we just get the information that you actually need from the file, which is the entity ID and the assertion consumer service URL. You just really simply need to upload these on your identity provider, and then you get the necessary information from the identity provider and upload it in here. So I'm going to do that as well. Upload my identity provider file, save the method to the site, and just apply the settings to write-back. And that easy, we just really go from using write-back with username and password-based login to using write-back with SAML login. So I'm just waiting for the apply to finish. I'm gonna go over here and open my other workbook. I have a different workbook for this particular example. I'll just quickly bring it to the correct screen. Oh, just a second, Tableau is loading on the other page. There we go. Okay. Right, there it is. And now it's very similar to before, where we're going to see write-back. Unfortunately, we couldn't do it to automatically trigger, but it's just as easy as clicking in here. And now it's going to open a page on the browser where it's going to try asking me for login. So I'll just quickly make that login with my single sign-on from my company. Just quickly doing this on the Authenticator app. Okay. And now we're going to see that the authentication is successful, and I can return to Tableau Desktop. Okay, so just in case, it can happen that the window does not close automatically because this is using some timers and all of that in the background. If the timer is not open on time, or if some issue goes on with the browser, this is expected. But now I'm already logged in, and I can start using Writeback as I would normally use on any other particular case. So as you can see, this time around, we only need to have one authentication method enabled, which is SAML. You no longer need to have LDAP as a backup, for example, for tablet desktop. Now this is the way to go, and makes it much easier to configure and use Writeback. I think that's very important as well. And to not take you too much time, I'm going to hand over the presentation to Andre to cover the news about what's coming up. And I'm just going to quickly go over here to your slide. Hey, Andre, you're there?
Yep, I am, Bruno. Hi, everyone. Okay, I think I will ask you to pass the slides, but yeah, I think I'm ready to go. So, hi everyone. I want to start by thanking you for your presence in yet another webinar. It's always very important for us to have you at this event, and I won't take much time. It's just to allow Bruno to catch his breath before starting the Q&A. So. With several customers and hopefully many more future customers in attendance, we thought it was the ideal time to share in firsthand another success story of Writeback. So right after this webinar, we'll be launching our success story with Amazon. We are very excited and proud to add this company to a fantastic group of customers that are already using Writeback, and we believe it says a lot of about us, a lot of about our growth and evolution as a product. When we have companies like Amazon trusting us. As Bruno is as the slide is showing. And speaking of the success story, Amazon needs no introduction, but we are especially referring to the devices and services unit, more precisely the Alexa customer service team. As you know, Alexa is one of the most widely used virtual assistants globally, with millions of users worldwide. So the challenge of providing an excellent customer service to such a huge user base is massive, especially when we are dealing with exceptions, and there is no single, and when there is no single standard platform for this purpose. So the solution envisioned by Amazon aimed to make their Tableau dashboards interactive and streamline the entire analytics process with a single platform. Fortunately for both of us, they found us in a web search for a solution, and that's how we start this success story. So the first use case they tackled, Bruno, can you pass to the next one, please? Yeah, thank you. So the first use case they tackled within the broader challenge was the customer agent performance. The main goal here was to handle the exceptions that occurred during the daily work of the customer agents, people that work on that unit. And despite algorithms handling the majority of the cycle management tasks, human interventions is necessary, especially in exceptional situations. In this case, the team manager input is required. And in addition to this input automation, a mechanism for approval of these inputs was also created and necessary. The second use case, was the contact mining. And the contact mining is all about having quality analysis going through the contacts, which can be messages or conversations, and providing comments or suggestions that can be used for coaching customer agents. So you can imagine that when you have a conversation with an agent, that conversation is analyzed and important metrics and data are extracted to improve the agent's performance and the level of the service provided by the team. And you can imagine these two processes were much more challenging when you are using Excel, SharePoint, and other external sources. So I think the beauty here was the seamless integration between Tableau and Writeback. So these alternatives were created, and the results that I believe it's the interesting part speak for themselves. Yeah, thank you, Bruno. So as you can see, the results, and we can speak about each use case. So the customer agent performance automation saves the analyst's bandwidth by 75%, improved the Amazon devices and services division worldwide key metrics by 5%, and saved operating costs by 5.8 million, and contribute to a contact reduction of 70 Ks. And we are talking about a use case with 5,000 unique users and 200,000 views across all the performance management dashboards. So it's a use case that is used by a lot of people. The contacting mining use case led to a 10% reduction in bandwidth for each analyst per week. We are talking about like 4 hours per week per each analyst. And this use case not only automates the process, but also provides a standardized data source that is widely used by several Amazon units for other use cases. Yeah, and as I said, we are going to share the link to this success story. Let us know if you have any questions. I believe I already exceed my time, but I hope it was been interesting for all of you. Again, we appreciate your presence, and now hand it over to Bruno to address any questions that you may have.
Yeah, I think your time was on time. I would say,
right? 5 minutes.
Always good to bring it up and to see the customer feedback and how everything is working. So I think it's always important to bring that up, but also very important to clarify your questions. So I'm gonna start, I think, chronologically from what I see in here. We have the first question regarding the permissions. Yes, that it's going to be based on the Writeback users, not the Tableau users. Of course, if your Tableau usernames are the same as Writeback, then of course you're going to be seeing the same usernames. But yeah, that's based on the users that are logged in or registered on Writeback, basically. So yeah, thank you, Brayden, for that question. For Nadine. So I think it ties to that question that I just answered, because you don't actually need to use a Tableau username. So it's you add the users from the users that are available within Writeback. So if a user doesn't have a login on Writeback yet, or they never use Writeback, you're not going to be able to block that particular user individually unless you import them from Tableau first. And that feature already existed before, where you can import a user from Tableau. That's still going to continue to exist. Now, the difference is that you're going to be able to go there and specify that capability being enabled or disabled within that particular user. So it's a little bit different from Tableau in that sense, because you're not going to go by group or by pattern license roles. You're going to go by that user individually, and that's the Writeback user. Yeah. We're gonna enable groups in the future. That's something that we want to do and to bring into this. But for now, it's just individual write-back users.
Hi, sorry, I just have a follow-up question on this. When we are enabling SAML, we're using totally independent credentials, or can we use SAML and link up Tableau credentials as well? Does that question make sense? Sorry.
So I think it does. It's good to clarify that as well, because when you configure write-back with SAML, the goal is exactly to configure it with the same credentials that you're already accustomed to. So let's say you're using Microsoft Entra as one of the single sign-on providers, or Okta, for example.
Yeah.
This means that you're gonna, if you already have Tableau using that, and you have automatic logins on Tableau using that, then if you use the same provider for write-back, it's likely that you're not even going to need to provide a password, or like I did the authenticator app over there, because you log into Tableau with that application, with that provider, and write-back is going to go there and ask for the same type of authentication. Because you already logged in before to Tableau, for example, then it's not going to ask you for a password again, because that's exactly how it works. So it knows that you already logged in before. Your session is probably still on not expired, or everything's fine. So that's the typical flow. That's why if you open another, let's say another application separate from write-back, let's say that you use Salesforce and Tableau, and you also have Salesforce configured for Okta, then you won't need to log into Salesforce again, because you're already logged into Tableau before. So yeah, that's exactly.
So if it's the same provider, then it's going to sync. Okay, thank you.
Exactly, yes, no problem. For the next question, about the data grid. If it is possible to switch back and forth between data grid and the form, it's still not possible in the 4.2, but it's something that is also on the pipeline. We want to bring it in. It's potentially going to be on a minor release during 4.2 live period. So we expect to have it sometime in the future, because it's something that also we want to bring in based on customer feedback. We have a lot of requests for that, so it's up there on the pipeline. Next, regarding the predefined option based on the other option. So essentially, from what I understand, if you have option A, option B, and option other, if you want to have a place to type in the other value. So within the dropdown itself, or within the predefined field itself, it's not possible. So you have to set the predefined options. So option 1, option 2, whatever, all the way to option other. And what we can do, and that's an example that I showed in the, I'm just going to quickly go back to Tableau in here just to show this in place. And I'm going to create one really quickly. I can't take too much time on this, so I'll just try to be as quick as possible. But basically, we can have a predefined with the option other. And then once that option other is selected, so I'm just going to create a new predefined field in here that's going to have option A, B, and other. I can have a separate field that's going to be other. I can have something like this. That's going to be a text field. However, this field is going to have a condition where it will only display if my other field, which in this case is the predefined, equals to other. So this means that my other field can only show up in that particular condition. Okay. If I apply this and make it mandatory, then when I go to my data set, I can choose the other option, and the other field will show up, and I cannot submit unless I do specify the other option. So just really quickly covering that up. So it's possible as long as you create a separate field exactly to store that other option. So thank you for that question. Really, really interesting topic. And we are actually studying this option a little bit further to provide some additional features. But yeah, thank you for that. And that's exactly what you need to do in that particular case. So if you want to see how I did it, if I did it too quickly, you can let's go back to the recording that's going to be available in the link that Andre shared in the chat. Next question is about the session time on the form. So the default is 60 minutes, but it's actually customizable. So on the Right Back Manager, there's a section there where you can customize the session time. By default, it's set to 60 minutes, and you can customize it if you want less time or more time. So you're free to go there and set it up. You just have to make sure that once you set it up, you apply the settings to Right Back. So that's set, and yeah, it's very straightforward to configure. And I think that wraps up all the questions. Not sure if anything will be. Oh, there's one. Regarding that question that just came in, no, this is not yet available on 4.2. So we're looking into allowing the. So currently, when you export a template for RightBack for the booking insert that contains a predefined field, the predefined field is basically a text field that shows up on the template as a typical field. We're looking into bringing the options into that dropdown, so you can actually select from the dropdown instead of typing the text on the template file, on the Excel file. But this is not yet available on 4.2. It's something that we're planning on, and it's also near the top of the list in terms of what we're going to do next based on customer feedback too. Over here, seems someone is having issues accessing the success story page. We can look into this, but it is hosted on our website. You can always navigate through there and check if you can validate the access. If not, we can later look into to see if there's really an issue, or make sure that also your company is not blocking external URLs. Last question over here that we see, it's to have an alert based on a delete. So this is also based on user feedback. We're also adding these to our backlog. Actually, it's already added. So we're gonna in the future have we don't and right now we don't have it because we don't really find it necessary. At least from the way we thought out Writeback from the beginning, because when you delete something on Writeback, you're not actually deleting any data or making any definitive changes, because it's simply just flagging the line as false on the database. So in this active column that Writeback has. However, based on customer feedback, we're getting the requests from a lot of people. We're gonna eventually have an option to enable these. We're not gonna enable these for everyone, because we know that it could potentially be troublesome for more than not. We're going to have an option to basically a checkbox where if you want to enable it, you can do it. And then when the user tries to delete data from the timeline, you're going to get an alert saying yes or no based on the on that option being enabled. And only, of course, if you confirm the data will be deleted, but still it's going to be that usual delete, just flagging the line as false. And that's it. Yeah. Thank you for your question. We're pretty much at time, and we already have the message from the message from Anna over here telling us if you want to contact us, you can reach out via email. If you have any technical difficulty or anything, you can always reach out to our service desk. We're there to help. And Andre, you're going to say goodbye as well?
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I think everything's good. Thank you everyone for your presence. Really glad to see so many people joining. Really great to have you all here. Andre?
Yeah, that's it. And thank you so much for your presence, as Bruno said. Feel free to reach out. And as always, I'm going to drop you an email after this this webinar. Thank you so much, guys. Have a nice day.
Right. Bye, everyone. Nice day.